he's now, I see what kind of route he wants to go down, not just like shoving everyone on and just sitting everyone behind the ball. Even though that is what he's doing effectively, there is a bit of meaning to it. There's an ideal behind it. You've seen him do it at Chelsea before. You've seen him do it at United. It's the way he does it. And he has always been successful. And you look and you see, and like I think we touched on it earlier, you can have the nice flowing football, but what is there to show for it at the end? So I'm happy to give it a go. I think the players have obviously bought into his ideas and what he wants them to do. And like we said, it's a big change from going from a team that, you know, always had to keep the ball, win the ball back, to not actually having the ball and playing a completely different style. So I think that finally it actually clicked for them, as it has done with quite a few fans in the last few weeks. And you see where he's trying to take the team and the club and where it will be going next season. So I think it's only a positive thing. And I mean, it's only 5 weeks off. It's not like the usual, 2-3 months that you usually have. So no reason why that form can't continue. It's just something to reach for coming back.
100%. Okay, good stuff. Right, so we have you on the show,
yes.
And I'm not sure if Stacey explained this to you, but we have a special, what we call a special feature, which we call Fans in Focus. Okay, so you are our fan in focus this week. Okay, so effectively what we do is we just, we have a chat a bit about yourself, give you a chance to talk about yourself. As I say, we, generally it's like we're all Spurs fans. That's why we're here. And I think, in your case, I think we, like, kind of before we came on air, we were touching on some of the other projects and stuff that you're involved in. So this is just we'll just have a quick chat about some of those things, how you got involved in that, and then just sum it up, really. Normally we end up with we normally end the show with a pre-match prediction, but we haven't got any pre-match predictions today, so I'm not sure what we're going to do. It'll just be like it's just going to cut off. But anyway, so yeah, as you say, from a lockdown perspective, it came probably at a good time for us, like as a club, like not, obviously not for the nation, it was a horrible time. But within that period, like you've got involved in a few projects, haven't you? So one of them is this Zoom call thing that you do with a few ex-players and various people. So do you want to just tell us about that and how you got into that?
Yes, so it's an evening with, as Graham has actually titled it, which it is fundamentally an evening with Graham, and usually we have a special guest every week. It's usually an ex-Tottenham player. There are obviously a few that have not been Tottenham. We've had Graham Souness, Matt Letitia, Steve Nash, I can think of the top of my head. So it's pretty much, it started off halfway through lockdown, kind of, and it was a way to kind of bring people together, give them something to look forward to. And I host it, which is always nice. And it was just nice. It's a nice bonding opportunity for fans to get to know each other. It was also raising money for NHS donations. It was £10 a ticket, and I believe a portion was going to NHS, which is always a good way to, do a bit of charity work on the side with it. And it's been really fun. Like, we've had Jermaine Defoe on, we had Huddleston and Dawson, we had Harry Redknapp. We've just had a really good bunch of guests on, and I've really enjoyed hosting it, and doing it with someone like Graham, who's also Tottenham through and through, and absolutely loves the club and was so passionate, and also an amazing defender as well. He's great to have on there, because when he's talking to even the younger players or the people he used to play with, there's such a passion and love for the club, and as Tottenham fans which are on there, it's just nice and good to see that that runs through. Even now, he hasn't played for probably 30 years or something like that, and he still has that same passion. Steve Perryman was on it, just absolute legends of Tottenham that we've had on, which I'm really grateful to be a part of and be hosting it. So I've really enjoyed that during lockdown. What else have we been doing?
Who's been your favourite?
He's my favourite. For me, it was Defoe, because he was my childhood sweetheart, without him knowing. I just absolutely loved him. So.
Did he find out on the night when he was there? Did he find out?
Yes, he found out on the night. I had I'll tell you a story. When I was about 14, I used to get these knickers made in Victoria's Secret. You could have something printed on the bum. And everyone else is getting like Kanye or whoever they were obsessed with at the time, and mine was just Defoe. And I had these knickers.
Oh, your knickers.
Yes, I have. They're on my Twitter. There's a picture. I'll send it to you after.
Yeah, quality.
So I just had these knickers forever, and they were never worn. They were like in like framed somewhere. And then when I moved out, I couldn't find them. And then I was just like begging Graham. I was like, please get Defoe, please, I'll be so happy. And then he was like, we've got Defoe, and I was like, oh my god, I'm going to proper, have to contain myself here. And then as soon as he went on, he was like, I've already seen your knickers, like because I posted them. And he'd seen them on Twitter. But he was my favourite. But Redknapp was great as well. And he couldn't get the Zoom working for an hour. And Graham's daughter, who also lived near him in Dorset, had to go round and set up the Zoom.
Brilliant.
It was a good story, but we've had some good Friday nights. We have. It's been really fun.
And how did
it's all for charity, the money, is that correct?
Yeah, it's I don't really deal with the money side of it, but I believe a portion of it goes to charity. As to what that portion is, I'm not really aware. That is a question for Graham, but I think quite a big portion of it does.
Great.
Was there any friction when like Graham Souness was on? Because he's notoriously anti Spurs in in his job. And I know that there's been times where people like Graham have picked up on him, and other people have picked up on some of the stuff that he said. So was that pretty smooth on the night?
When I'll be honest, when I first knew he was coming on, I thought, oh wow, I mean, how am I going to spin this one to make it attractive to come on when he's not very favoured, especially in like Spurs circles. But he was really good. He wasn't particularly biased. I mean, he was on a Spurs evening, so he couldn't really have been. But he was all right. I mean, he actually, when he talks and he's talking about his playing days and talking about other things, he's actually very, very interesting to listen to. And he's got a lot of good stories. And he did talk. We touched on Spurs obviously here and there, but he actually had, when he was younger, quite a few links with us. I think there was one point that he actually was maybe even going to join us. So he has got, believe it or not, a little bit of a fondness for Tottenham. You just wouldn't know it. You just wouldn't know it.
Well, he was. I mean, we had Stevie P on here back end of last year, and obviously when Stevie Perryman was breaking through, Graham Souness was breaking through at the club as well. Stevie P got an opportunity and Graham didn't, and he would have had the opportunity if he'd been a little bit more patient, effectively. So it would have been. I think it would have been like Steve. I thought Steve Perryman was brilliant when he was on. He was very, very blunt about stuff.
He is.
Yeah.
He is.
And it would have been. I think it would have been great to have got Perryman and Souness on the same show to have like a chat,
a little debate about it.
Just because, like, as I say, I mean, Perryman was just like, well, he should have stayed, but he was too keen to move, and obviously it worked out for Souness anyway. But Perryman rated Souness very highly and just thought he should have stayed, really. So it's interesting. So yeah, so you did that, and you've just got involved in a new pod, which is just taken off. So do you want to tell us about that? Because that looked really interesting, especially with your first guest.
Yes, so we've just launched it. Two other guys who were part of Copper 90 and one of their brothers. So it's a nice little group we've got, a foursome. And it's called Run of Play. We launched it we launched the media accounts last Wednesday, and we filmed and put out our first one on Saturday. And we had Troy Townsend, obviously father of Andros, and he is so amazing. He was such a great guest to have, especially for the first one to kick us off. All the work he does with Kick It Out and just raising awareness for all the anti-racism stuff. He was just amazing. It's a really, really interesting pod, if I say so myself, but not because of us. It was because of obviously the guests we had on. And if you haven't listened to it, please do go and listen to it. You can find it on my Twitter page and hopefully direct you to... Yes. And we've this week we've actually got Matt Letitia on as well, so that'll be great. We're filming that on Thursday, so hopefully that'll be out also Saturday. And it's basically just a podcast which is a little bit different. It's not about Tottenham, it's just general football, because we've got a lot of Tottenham podcasts and I don't want to step on any of my friends' toes. So it's general football and it's more topical. So, even though we'll have a guest every week, we'll be talking about, best 11s, and we'll be talking about best shirts, best stadiums, like all different things that, like, because usually when it's a secular thing and it's about a club in particular, you end up talking about the game and you analyse all the things that have happened in that week with the club and things like that. So we just wanted to make it a little bit more broader, you know, have everyone involved with it and more, you know, so we can have commentators and things like that on who are a bit more, can be a bit more impartial if it's not about if it's not just one secular club. So it's really exciting. We've had really good feedback so far, and obviously, like I said, Troy was an amazing guest to kick us off, and I'm sure Laetitia will be really good as well. So that should hopefully be out over this weekend. So just keep your eyes peeled on my socials and Run of Play, and make sure you subscribe and make sure you follow it.
I used to love Matt Latiz. Used to love watching him in the mid-90s and seeing what he would do on Sunday Sky Sports football, Monday night football, and I'll go to school the next day and try and replicate everything that he did. And I nailed everything because I was that good.
You were that good. I mean, I tell you what, he is such a top guy. He was on the Zoom a couple of weeks ago, and he was just so lovely. I mean, he also has a little bit of... He liked Tottenham as a young kid. His dad is a Spurs fan, which a lot of people probably don't know, but he was so great to have on it. He literally spoke so nicely. He was so lovely to everyone, because what we do is we interview for the first 45 minutes and then we do a Q&A. And, you know, he was just so nice and welcoming to all the people that wanted to ask questions, really happy to, you know, go into depth on their answers and stuff like that. He's a proper top guy, so I'm really excited to have him on. And he was a great footballer. He was a a bit before my time, because I'm a bit young, but he...
Okay, don't need to drop that.
Yeah, don't rub it in, leave it out.
I mean, I'm not that young, but I'm a bit young. I missed out most of his career. So, but it's, you know, he's a great footballer. And obviously most people know him nowadays. If you're kind of, you know, a bit younger than myself, you'd think, oh, he's from Soccer Saturday, but there's so much more to him than sitting on that panel. So it was great to have him on.
And his brother's on Twitter too, Kevin.
I did not know that.
Kevin Letizia.
There's another one.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Every
You'll have to
day,
get...
all day.
It is with Jamie.
He follows me. He follows me.
Does he? That's because you keep banging on about how you used to like his brother as a player and used to replicate and nail all the tricks and everything that he did. So he obviously thinks there's something about you.
Or he just thinks I'm a really top bloke.
No.
That's definitely it. That's the one.
Yeah. He knows I'm a proper fridge freezer. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned Copper 90 stuff. So you did a few articles for them. Is that something that still happens, or is that just in the past now?
Unfortunately, because of Corona, we did obviously have to stop doing that. I did that for around about 2-3 months, which was great at the start of the year. It was a fan article, so sorry. So it was always writing about Tottenham. At that time, it was a little bit depressing because we were not very fun to write about. I will be doing some writing coming up soon for the Spurs web. I haven't actually done my first one yet, but we are going to be doing that either this week or next week. So that would be great. So there'll be more content on there that you guys can read about. Obviously, I've picked a great time to start writing when the season's finished, but there's still be things to write about. And obviously, we can kick it off properly in 5 weeks when the season starts. So that'll be on the Spurs web. We've got lots of other exciting things coming up, but obviously they're still in early stages at the moment. So hopefully there'll be some new stuff coming new season, which will be good.
Sounds like you've been really busy. So, Stace, you had a question or two, I think.
Yeah, I wanted to know who's your player of the season.
Who's my player of the season? For me, it will probably be Son. It annoys me that I can't give it to Harry because I think that he always gets overlooked. But I don't know if that's because of injuries that he never gets player of the season given to him voted by the fans and things like that. For me, it'd be Son. He's always pretty consistent. He comes up with a goal when we always need it. He's come on leaps and bounds since we first signed him when in that first season where everyone was kind of a bit ropey with him. But for me, he's always, if not the first or second name on the team sheet. So just proves you how invaluable he is to us and how amazing he is. So he's my player of the season. But in all honesty, there's very few candidates, I'd say, this year to really be player of the season.
Well, I just wanted to know what yours was. So Sonny got player of the season anyway, didn't he? So
yes,
there you go.
He did. But for achievement, I'd give it to Sanchez because I think for effort and actually, progress, I'd give him the award.
That's good. I think that's interesting because very few people I think recognise, show him, as you say,